welcome to everyone for joining, for this special spiritual meeting. A very interesting and a very deep topic actually given by Sage Ramana. Both the sage and Rishi Master Byansa Duno and some of the spiritual hierarchy are actually present as we conduct this satsang. So welcome to all of you. And as you know, this is our last satsang, the Zoom satsang for this year. And then we will recommence in February next year. So the title that has been given for the discussion for today is Happiness, Temporary and Permanent. Right. So interestingly, just when I had my eyes closed, some communications had come, so I'll actually start with those. And let us take some examples before we delve into this happiness, temporary or permanent. I'll take the example of the two Satgurus who had actually guided me to that state of permanent happiness. And let's look at Ramana Maharishi. You see, when you delve into the life of the sage, right? The sage actually never married, did not get involved with how normally we lead our day-to-day life. And then his entire life, you see, from 1897, 98, since he has been in Tirunamalai, right until, the start of 1950, end of 49, he always actually spoke about one thing, which is the self, right? Which, of course, is the ever-present changeless consciousness. So what is it actually that Sage Ramana had actually found that had suddenly changed him to a changeless state of what we may connect with happiness, which we will talk actually in a minute. So let's touch upon that as well. You see, what happened was that when he was about 16 years of age, going to 17, he had this near-death experience, right? Now, when he had that near-death experience at his uncle's place on the first floor, he actually realized that even though this body has been burnt completely, he is still alive, right? So the body actually appears only temporarily. It connects itself temporarily to whatever we are actually doing in life. But then after that, he said that he realized the presence of this self or consciousness, which he says actually is changeless, right? Just look at the change which actually occurred. And then he remained in that state for the rest of the life, right? Now let's take the example of Rishi Master Byansa Duno. Same thing, didn't marry, right? And what happened was that he was also, when he was at the age of about 33, 34, in 1898, look, it's a coincidence actually, both Ramana Maharishi and Rishi Master Byansa Duno. See, he actually was told by Elohim, which is one of the great gods when evolution was actually taking place. And then he was with Jesus. See, Jesus Christ also was in that same state. Jesus also didn't marry, right? And he had given so many statements. And if you look at humanity, the entire Christianity is actually just following one person, an entity, Jesus Christ, right? And then Rishi Master Prince Arduino was with Jesus in this house of Jesus, which is in Urbanasi, near Velko Trnovo in Bulgaria. And then he wrote his first book there, and he was told what his mission was. And then he just, sacrificed his entire life for the betterment of humanity. He always talked about love, wisdom, and truth, right? So just I was told actually to give another example, in our day-to-day life, look at Gautam Buddha, right? Now, Gautam Buddha actually was born as a prince, right? Married, he had a child. And one astrologer had told his parents, make sure that he never comes in touch with anything which is which will actually create anxiety or fear or upset him or make him unhappy. He will turn into a sage, he will leave everything. And that is what happened. The curtains were on one side, and suddenly he saw beyond the gates of the palace a beggar. He was looking for food, right? So Gautam Buddha said, how can I be in this luxury when someone like me doesn't even have food to eat? So he just left, right? Now, when he left the palace, he also actually, you see, went into a state of what we call as, he found actually something. They say that he was awakened, he had that enlightened kundalini or the rising of currents or whatever. But he also forsake actually everything, right? So what we find is that in the life of ordinary human beings and in the life of just these examples of Rishi Master Byansa, Sage Ramana, now Gautam Buddha, they seem to actually be in a different world altogether, right? So this is where this thing actually comes in, what we call as, uh, what the title is, happiness, temporary and permanent. So now when we actually look at it, you see, everything when you look at, everything in this world, you can stretch it as far as space and time goes. Look at it, even as you sit. See, this view appears in front of you, and you are actually in the view, and everything, whether it is at the physical level, or it's at the level of feelings, or it's a mental projection, or it is intuition, or it's your atomic body, it does not matter. These are all images in the view, right? you know I hope you agree with me there. Well, there cannot be any disagreement, because that is basically the truth. Now look at it. You see, you yourself are an image. Now look at one thing. Isn't every image temporary in nature? Right. Now look at one thing. You see, there's a universal statement which I make in one of my satsangs, that every image carries the seeds of its own death within it, right? So, if every image carries the seeds of its own death within it, that means it is actually going to die, and then it may be reborn. You follow? So, that in itself brings in that temporariness, right? Now you compare this with, the presence of that ever present changeless reality, which Sage Ramana talked about, Rishi Master Byansa talked about, Gautam Buddha actually talked about, which is the presence of consciousness. Consciousness is not an image. It is the ultimate reality that we all are actually seeking, or it is our real essence, right? And what is actually consciousness doing? That light of consciousness is simply witnessing the rise and fall of these images. You follow? So, so that is actually permanent, and basically that means the presence of consciousness. And if any happiness is actually associated with consciousness, that is not temporary in nature, right? So here actually we draw the conclusion of this title, happiness, temporary and permanent. If you think that you are an image, which generally that's how nature has made it, we think so. So now this image that you think you are, that is temporary in nature. Everything that you are actually associated with, look at it, carries the stamp of temporary happiness. You follow? Look at it. The house that you build, you will live in that only as long this physical form is there. So that is temporary in nature. It may give you happiness. The happiness is going to end. You follow? The family that you have reared, whether you are in the is the wife or it is the husband, they carry, being images, they carry the seeds of their own death within them. The moment the husband or the wife or any family member departs, that happiness which was there at the physical level comes to an end, right? Again, temporary in nature. Look at your cycles of reincarnation, right? You can't even call those permanent, because you live physically, then you live in the next world, the world of feelings, you all know that, and then you live in the what we call as the Swarga Loka or the heaven world, which is the lower mental sub levels. right? That is also still temporary, because after all this, you recycle yourself, you recreate yourself, and then you are reborn in another body, in another place, in another time, still continuing to work out personal karma. But what I'm saying is, as long as you think that you are a image, you're bound to actually die. Everything that you are seeking, every single thing that you are actually associated with, look at it, it is temporary in nature, and it is actually temporary happiness, and that is what you are driven by, isn't it? No, there is a hidden thing behind this, you see, because this is the wondrous nature of that consciousness, right? That is why what it does is it has recreated itself in such a way temporarily, which are actually images which will seek temporary happiness. Why do you seek temporary happiness? So that you can realize your true essence and connect with that which is a permanent state of happiness, the happiness which actually does not end. And when does that happen? When you shift yourself to your own essence. Look at it. You have a higher nature and you've got a lower nature. Now, you all are sitting here, here you are sitting as a temporary image, one day which will actually pass away. But at the same time, the view appears in front of you because of consciousness. And no one can deny, even as I speak, that you are not conscious of what I'm speaking about. Isn't it? And this is what Ramana Maharshi said. Just stop there. Don't get involved with the temporary side. Look at this permanent side, that you are actually conscious of whatever image it may be. Let us call it that you are conscious of all this, which is what we call as temporary happiness. Now, you see, being conscious is the sakshi or the witness, and that actually belongs to consciousness. So, what happened was, in the case of Ramana Maharishi, Rishi Master Vyansa Duno, or Jesus, or Gautam Buddha, they suddenly realized the presence of this essence in them. So, they just shifted. When they shifted, that is what became their outlook. Now, what happens? You see, images come and go. It's not that, Ramana Maharishi is not present or Rishi Master Sadhguru is not present. They are still present, but in a much higher world, in a very different body. But you see, they are not seeking temporary happiness. For them, that is what you actually call illumination. So I won't keep on, chatting or talking. So summarizing, you see, this is your goal in life. Having found temporary happiness, you are actually able to shift to that which is permanent within you, and which is actually permanent happiness, and which is not affected by this temporary activity or a temporary happiness that you seek all the time. Right? Okay, I think I've spoken sufficiently. Neeruji, can you please take over?
Yes, thank you, Anilji. So let's start. I will share my screen and then we move on from there. I hope everyone can see my screen. Is that right?
Yeah, yes, good.
Okay. So salutations to the grace. My humble pranam to present, past, and future sages. Thank you, Anilji, for the nice introduction to today's topic. Every one of us is pretty clear that what we all want in life. Um, Everyone wants to attain happiness. Uh, but today we are here to dig a bit deeper into it. Let's say, why do we look for happiness? Um so it's that, as Anilji has also given a very nice view to that, there is a sense of lack that all of us, any human being, so we feel, and we feel that something is absent in our life, or is lesser, and that makes us feel unhappy about that, and then we seek some means to be happy. Um, so what people do to be happy. I'm just trying to be very simple and practical, looking at the things that we do. Uh, so, some people think they would be happy when they build a successful career. For example, some think they could be happy by doing some activity like going on a holiday to your favorite destination. Others may think they could achieve happiness in a relationship. Some may think happiness would come through some possessions like owning a car or house. Uh, but as I said, the topic today is to dig a bit deeper into what is this thing called happiness actually. And also, the topic says that there is perhaps two types of happiness. So, one type of happiness is temporary. So, what that basically means is that happiness is not forever, it comes and then it goes away. The other type of happiness is permanent happiness, which means that it does not go away. Uh, so, at this moment, maybe we could ask us one question. Do you seek temporary happiness or everlasting happiness? Or you seek both types of happiness? Um, if anyone is brave enough, you can share, you can maybe speak, or you can post in the chat if you like to share your views with us. We can take a moment. But yes, if you like, you can keep thinking and we can discuss later on when we finish the talk. So we just move on from here. Okay, right. So we'll take a look at temporary happiness to start with. So what about temporary happiness? Um, it's an emotional experience. So we have this experience, I think, almost every day, maybe in our lives, hopefully. So gaining success, possessions, relationships, or joyful experiences, they bring temporary happiness. But look at them, these things or objects are external to us. They do not exist in us. So these are the things happening out there. You come to know about them, and the feeling of happiness appears. Um, but it stays for a shorter duration only, and then it disappears or fades away. Sometimes it happens that the novelty of these things wears off. Things that made you happy in the past do not affect much at present, let's say. Why? Maybe that you become used to them and do not feel much novelty in them. It becomes ordinary to you. For example, the first time you ate at your favorite restaurant or bought a new device, let's say a new car, that was more enjoyable. And after it became after some time it became boring, and then what happens? A desire for something else arises. So this cycle repeats because that happiness depends entirely on an external factor for fulfillment and is not constant. The pleasure comes with the desired fulfillment, and then it goes once that is fulfilled. Uh, then temporary happiness also fluctuates with mood. Um, like our feelings, naturally our feelings rise and fall throughout the day due to, let's say, physiological reasons or maybe what surrounds us. For example, imagine waking up feeling cheerful and upbeat because of good sleep and positive thoughts. So everything is just, so enjoyable, and there is a sense of happiness. However, later in the afternoon, maybe mood might shift due to fatigue or maybe, some minor frustration, and that same sense of happiness diminishes, or even it can be maybe changing to irritability maybe at some time. So the key point about the temporary happiness is that it is produced by external objects. As external object disappears, happiness also lessens or it also disappears. Okay, so now we take a look at the other type of happiness, which we say permanent happiness. So what do you think permanent happiness is like? um, Sages say it's permanent happiness, it is unshakable, it will not depend on any external things that we have, like material possessions, success, circumstances, or quality of relationships, etc. Permanent happiness is self-sufficient, right? So how this happiness would come? Uh, so we take advice from what Sage Ramana has guided us. So he guides that permanent happiness comes when one realizes the true nature. So our true nature. So when we realize that and we remain in that state, so that is permanent happiness. So when one remains as what they truly are, that state is also called self-abidance also. Okay, that is also called the state of the pure awareness also. So sages say that state of abidance in the self is bliss, or permanent happiness. So this bliss is something like of a very high level of happiness, and these the ordinary everyday type of temporary happiness that we experience is just only maybe a little glimpse of that state, that supreme state of bliss. So once that state of bliss comes, there is a constant sense of fulfillment and contentment. So that fulfillment does not change with the coming and going of joyful experiences. It is also much deeper than the emotional experience of happiness that comes in the temporary happiness state. Um, uh, Permanent happiness is stable. It it's not fluctuating. It's not dependent on environment, or any influences. Like, it can be experienced even amidst worldly activities. So you may be doing work in your office, or talking to your friends, or having a party, or traveling, or maybe even in difficult circumstances. So it will remain unchanged in all these different fluctuating circumstances, or turbulence, or whatever we experience, happy or sad, whatever. So there is a deep sense of peace. So basically, if we try to truly define permanent happiness, maybe we need to use some different labels for it. You may, rather than calling happiness, would probably better if we call it bliss. We call it maybe peace. Okay, so it's a very different kind of, it's not like a wave, like an emotion or something, comes and goes. Of course it is permanent, as we are talking about it. So such happiness is not affected by pleasure and pains. Why? Because why it does not change with the movements, these, the pleasure, pains, external circumstances, and uh, the gains or the losses. Why? The question, why it does not change? It does not change because that's what actually truly we are. It is us. Okay, because we do not change when things change. So because permanent happiness is our own self, that's why it does not change, because that's what we are really. Okay, we will not change when thoughts come and go. We are still there. So just like their permanent happiness is also there, even though the things change, the environment changes, or the situations changes, etc. Okay, so let's move on from, yeah. All right. So, because we try to understand what is the reason we seek happiness? I mean, temporary or permanent. So, what is the reason really that we seek? So why happiness only? Why there isn't any different experience that we seek? Okay. So, we're trying to investigate more, deeper into it. So why we seek happiness? Hmm? And why this happiness does not last? I mean, temporary happiness. So why that does not last? Why humans remain unfulfilled with things they experience? Okay, so to answer these questions, we need to find what we really are. Okay, so how do we? So what we really are? Basically, we have two parts in us. We have a dual existence. So there is, two kinds of us really. Just like how we are talking about happiness. Happiness, we're saying, is two types. Similarly, we also are two types. Okay. Um, so one element that is fundamental to our existence is the pure self, or the true self, or really what we are. Okay. uh, and the other element present in us is the individual self. We can also call that personal self. So if you look at the screen on the left hand side, basically symbolically that represents our uh, pure self. Okay, on the left hand side of the screen, and on the right hand side of the screen, an individual who is seeking different means to get temporary happiness, that is our dynamic side, like, me, you, like a person. Okay, so this element present in us, we call it individual self or personal self. um, Pure self, pure self is pure untouched awareness. If we try to understand, pure awareness, sometimes we call it consciousness also. Consciousness is something at a more experiential level, but basically consciousness is something that comes from even a higher level, which is the pure awareness. Okay, so, so what is this pure awareness? So, pure awareness is with which we become conscious of any object, like, table, chair, furniture, computer, devices. So we become conscious of any object, anybody around us, any experience. For example, we are happy or sad. So how do we become conscious of that? It's because pure awareness is there. Uh, we are that. So that's why we become conscious of these experiences. We become conscious of the state of mind we are in. So if the pure awareness had been absent, no one will know what was present around them or what experience they have. Hmm? So bliss and peace that we just talked a moment ago, that is the nature of this pure self. The pure awareness, the nature of this pure awareness is that supreme bliss. Okay, so what that means is, since we all are basically pure awareness, in reality our fundamental nature is that pure awareness, so our true nature is permanent happiness. Okay, yeah. So let's also look at our other side. So our other form is the person or personality. So that is normally what people refer to when they think what they are, what our name is, gender, age, what job we do, what we like, dislike, our, roles, like, in our family we can be father, mother, brother, sister. In our office we can be a senior or junior, etc., etc., etc. Let's now know a bit more about this person. So this person is a contradistinction of the pure self. Okay, so the right side of the picture is the contradistinction of the left side. What that means is, they both exist in an individual. Okay, but they do not converge. They cannot come to the same point. What that means is that this entity person by nature believes that it is different from pure self. It is distant from pure self. Um, if you visit a Hindu temple, you may have noticed this also. Like, symbolically, they represent this principle. Like, you see the deity Shiva sits inside the place, within the temple there is a place where the deity Shiva, so that sits in placed inside, and his vehicle Nandi bull is placed opposite to him, outside of his main place. So Nandi bull is a symbolic of personality or persona of this individual being. So as person, we do not acknowledge the fact, just like how Nandi and deity Shiva, so they are like in a you can say the position that is opposite to each other. Okay, so just like that, because we are compared to the Nandi bull, so as person we do not acknowledge the fact that we are one with God. So we are that awareness itself and the supreme bliss. Okay, so that's why this left side of the picture and the right side of the picture, they basically, they uh, uh, pure awareness, of course, doesn't speak. So we are only talking about what this person entity is thinking, how they are looking at it. So they do not come in oneness with the pure awareness, which basically they are. But since fundamentally we are pure self, so our inherent tendency is to gain a sense of our true nature happiness. Okay, uh, but since we do not identify with our true self, we do not experience the bliss. Instead, we identify with the personality, the individual part of it. And, we look for external means to be happy, because the real mean of happiness We already are, but since we do not identify with that, so how do we get that sense of happiness? We look for other means which are external to us, like something like possessions and qualifications or experiences, etc. But that happiness, the temporary, that is short-lived. So when the good thing fades, happiness disappears because it relies on outside conditions. So anytime those conditions shift, our happiness also disappears, or it can even turn to disappointment, sometimes sadness also, frustrations also, and so forth. So now we are going to go to even a deeper level of thing to understand it, that why we have this false identification. What is the reason in that? Why we do not converge with our real self? We do not realize that our real nature is that pure awareness and none other than that. So we are in bliss already. The reason for that is the influence of mind. Mind is, of course, like a thoughts, experiences, thoughts and feelings, basically. But what's the root of this mind? This mind is rooted in I thought. Okay, I thought. All right. So what is this I thought? I thought is an attribute. Okay, it is necessary. This attribute is necessary to manifest an individual entity. Okay, it can be a human, it can be an animal, it can be a bird, it can be anything that exists with some individual existence that needs an I thought in it. Okay, uh, you see, what's an individual without I thought? Without I thought, they are universal or whole. Pure awareness is universal, but pure awareness needs a form, like a shape, like an individual, like a human, like a bird, like a plant, like a tree. So pure awareness needs a form to experience the variety of the attributes it has. The fun of using a smartphone, the fun of creating something with artificial intelligence, the new technology that we all know is now growing in use. So these are the different attributes of that same pure awareness, all right? But pure awareness by itself cannot experience them, cannot express them. Pure awareness needs a shape to express them. It needs a form to taste them, to experience them. So all these are different attributes of the same indivisible reality, the pure awareness that we are. But so through the manifested entity, which comes with an I thought in it, the pure awareness expresses all these attributes and also watches those attributes. Um, all these attributes are experienced with respect to an individual being. Of course, that is necessary for it, because the experience cannot be at the universal level. For example, you look at any experience. Let's say a couple gets a new baby is born. So the parents, they love to watch the newborn because there is a sense of individuality that the newborn, it belongs to them. Okay, so just like that, every form, any bird, fly, mosquito, you talk about bigger or smaller, each one of them, they have a sense of individual existence, because every entity says I am. Okay, so what the meaning of I am is that I exist, that feeling, that the first thing that comes, that I exist. Okay, that is I am. So that is the expression of the manifested form, that it exists. And this is the first thing that the individual entity expresses when it becomes aware of its existence. So just when we were little, we were starting to gain the sense that we exist. Like, this is my mother, this is my father, or this is my name, brother, sister. We gain grounding in that I thought that is in us. So under the influence of that I thought, the pure awareness that is the source of the individual, it develops a false identification, because the meaning of I thought, the purpose of that I thought is there is individuality. So since that individuality comes in the shape, uh, that makes it distant from the true awareness, which is universal. because universal cannot be individual. So I thought brings that false identification with that body mind setup that we get with the individual existence. And so it gets entangled with that, and then it forgets its true nature for a while, because when it is existing as an individual entity, then it forgets its true nature, because individual entity needs to be operating in this world like an individual, right? So, and on top of that, there are influences on us. For example, influences of the lower planes, the physical plane, the astral plane, the lower mental plane. So these influences on the individual self, or the person, so that it can experience the attributes of the pure awareness. Because without these instruments, um, pure awareness cannot experience what it is. For example, look at what the physical world offers. Let's say you want to, for example, driving a car, or the experience, like the fun of that experience, that is available in the physical plane only, right? Okay, yeah. So senses will be necessary, like driving the car, watching the scene that comes in the front, or listening to the voices, or even the engine, let's say. uh, all these need senses. Okay, so we look at different planes. For example, mental plane, it provides thoughts and memory to us. Astral plane provides emotions. Physical plane provides senses. So all these planes, lower planes you can call them, they enable us, or the true awareness present in the individual shape. So they enable that to perceive all these different objects and experiences. In other words, you can say that pure awareness requires these physical, astral, mental influences to experience what it is. But in doing so, pure awareness gets entangled with the I thought, uh, for the lifetime, governing the individual, and it becomes restricted also, because it remains in that shape. So body mind defined dependent entity, it cannot remain in its purity. And due to that reason, it cannot fully remain in the permanent happiness, which is basically its real state, its true nature. It cannot remain fully in that state. It gets restricted, and due to that, it feels a lack. So when we feel a lack, basically it is the pure awareness in us feeling a lack, and it's trying to look for the ways that it comes back to its nature, so to regain its state. Uh, but since we exist in the world, so it gets happiness in the worldly matter, but that happiness is temporary, and that does not last, right? Okay. So moving on. Um, but But see, the pure awareness which is present in us in its pure nature as well, which is underlying and supporting the person, it knows this thing as well, that it in its own nature is infinite, it is timeless, it is absolute happiness also. And pure awareness loves it in its absolute nature. Although for a while, the awareness, it comes into the shape like a human, it remains as the mind, it experiences the objects, the activities of the lower planes, but still, it wants to find what it essentially is. So in the form of mind, awareness gets temporary happiness, right? For example, it gets some happiness in the objects, such as watching a movie, listening to the music. hmm? But after the movie is over, it reverts, as the happiness obtained in watching the movie is not permanent. So again, there is a lack, and the search continues for peace or for happiness in maybe different worldly pursuits, other than movie, other than music, let's say maybe sport. So if we were not pure awareness, we would have been easily fulfilled with what the physical, astral, and lower mental planes offer to us, right? Okay. Since we are not a person in our true nature, there is always a lack of happiness, because that state of permanent happiness is not achievable with this. So, self in us, or pure awareness in us, is wanting to get freedom from this I thought. It is yearning to realize itself, to discover it, and to remain as it is. So that is the reason why it's looking for different means to get that happiness, but it remains unsuccessful, right? Okay. So we then see, get guidance from sages as to what happens with it. So if we look at Sage Ramana's advice about it, so how one could achieve a state of permanent peace and happiness, Sage Ramana referred to the pure awareness as self. Okay, so these are just the different labels for that same, the fundamental thing that is there. We shouldn't call it a thing, but anyway, it's just only for the word's sake. So pure awareness he called as self, right? So happiness in a true sense comes, this is what sage has guided us. So happiness in true sense, so it comes when one realizes that their true nature is pure awareness self, and consciously lives as that. Means, so we come to this recognition that basically we are not this body mind limited entity, we are pure awareness itself, and then we practically live as that as well. So not like, something is mysterious. Okay, we know that, yes, we know that now intellectually. No, so it is practically also we abide in, we adapt to that, we learn to live in that, we uh, yeah. So sage teaches that the seeker needs to shift the focus from the object. Object in this sense is not just, it's any object, let's say. It's including our body, our mind, experiences, any material things that we just talked about. So all those things that surround us, okay? Because Anilji just said images, okay? So images, shifting attention from the images. That doesn't mean that we stop looking at them, we stop using them. That doesn't mean that. The idea is that we focus our attention to the underlying awareness, underlying everything, okay? So we shift the focus from the object to the underlying awareness, and we remain as that awareness, because basically underlying every object is that same awareness that is not divided. So let's say we are looking at a flower, so we are looking, of course, at flower, we are appreciating the beauty of the flower, how soft it is, uh, so we enjoy it, the experience is there, but at the same time focusing on what is underlying this creation. There is that same pure awareness which is underlying me, underlying you, underlying this flower, that is indivisible. So bringing our attention as much as possible, that's what a seeker would do. So sage says that bringing attention from the surface reality, these objects, to the underlying reality, which is that same pure awareness. And then he says, remain as that awareness also, which means that should not be lost. Okay, it takes practice, but then a point comes when these both things, they coexist. So we are able to operate in the world, how practically we have to work also, we have to talk also, we have to do all these activities, but at the same time the living as that pure awareness which is underlying those interactions, transactions, exchanges, so underlying that pure awareness, so we are able to live as both of those. Okay, so Sage says that these things that we are looking at the surface, like, in shapes and forms, different sizes and all, experiences as well, subtle, not only gross, but subtle things as well. So they can produce only temporary happiness. Awareness is our essential nature and the source from which all these activities and states, they arise. So therefore, eternal happiness is in abiding as that pure awareness. Okay, so when we practice when we concentrate on self, uh, pure awareness, that's what Sage called it, self, we realize the truth of our existence. It's not mind. So we are, in fact, awareness. And as that awareness, what happens is then we come to know this, that to realize this, that we are awareness. So we are not mind. Let's say mind is the closest thing to us. So we are not the mind that we call is my mind, right? We are actually aware of that mind. So basically we are conscious of our thoughts, the flow of thoughts, it comes, it goes. We are conscious of our feeling coming and going. We are conscious of our experiences. Let's say I am talking to someone, the talk started and ended. So we are actually conscious of these. But in reality, we are not equal to these. Okay? We are awareness. So awareness is enabling us, this body mind, to be conscious of all these that we are experiencing. So let's say, like thought comes and goes. So we do not vanish when thought vanishes. So in this way, if we practice this, then we can separate the pure awareness self, which is us in reality. So we can separate that from the individual self. So we create a distance between us as pure awareness and the mind that we, in ordinary terms, that we think we are, but basically we are not that. So if we think that, if we, don't identify that strongly with our mind, we identify strongly with the pure self in us. So then there will be a distance happening between them. Okay. And and then we get bit more grounding. So as we do practice, more practice, then we get grounding in this, that we are pure self. So we become firm in that pure self sense, and we keep increasing distance from the mind, which we thought we are, or we have been. Okay, so let's talk a bit more about it, about attention, because we were trying to create the distance by paying attention to our pure self, our pure nature. We're trying to create the distance from the mind, uh, and that is the only method, okay, to come to this recognition that we are basically both of these, and to attain permanent happiness, which comes with our when we affirm into pure awareness. So the only method to find that awareness self is to pay attention to it. Okay. um, and it's not really like a big challenge. It's just like we need to develop this habit, because we do not notice that the pure awareness remains hidden. We do not notice. Okay. We just ignore it. So pure awareness remains hidden under the layers of mind, like metaphorically you can imagine like an onion. Okay, so there is so many layers around the core of the onion, and that core remains covered by those multiple layers. You compare it to the layers of ignorance or the hurdles in this practice. Okay, so we have forgotten what we essentially are. So basically, essentially we are that core. um, and we have mistaken ourselves instead for a collection of all these experiences that captivate our true self. And as a result, the true self remains absent from our attention. And it is due to this lack of attention or knowledge of what we really are, we think we are mind. Okay. Which is just a bucket of experiences, of thoughts, emotions, etc. Just like we see the movie screen, let's say, we see the movie, uh, we're talking about the screen right now, so movie screen. We perceive that not as a blank screen, but in our perception, screen is perceived as a picture. There is objects on that playing their roles, actors, characters. So likewise, awareness self is seen by us not as pure awareness itself, but as the manifested object. Okay. Yeah. So However, the pure awareness self in us has that purity present in it. It does not go away. It is always there. Although it is veiled by the noises of mind, but it is still there all the time. So once self gets a bit of release from the mind, it gets a bit of opportunity, okay, then it concentrates on itself. It pulls that individual back to the source, to its natural state. So that pure awareness self longs, because it all the times it longs for peace. It urges the individual to discover its purity, to go to satsang, to search for the originality, do spiritual practices, travel to holy places, talk to people, do meditation, chanting, lots of practices. This is all that urges, and the impulses, let's say, or the coming from that pure awareness self, which is trapped inside this individual entity, that you awaken to your pure reality, pure existence. You do some practice, yeah, or go to satsangs, etc. So that's the reason why we get compelled to come and meet and talk about all these and strengthen us in all these the principles, and to practice them. Okay. So Sage a lot of times has compared this self to a screen. So self is like the screen. And what's happening in this world, the objects or the activities, all these movements, they are like the pictures on the screen. So, but you look carefully at it. You can see the picture only so long as there is a screen. So we need to bring our attention a bit more strongly to this, that since we are able to see something like a picture, like an object, like something like an experience, a thought, or there needs to be something like a base of it. Like pictures in the movie have a base, there is a screen. So similarly, you compare it to these worldly pictures, so there is a screen present, but we need to pay attention to discover it. So once we pay attention to the screen of self, it will be impossible to not notice the screen, because once it is discovered, that screen becomes much more powerful in our experience. It is alive, so alive, that the pictures, the movements, the devices and objects and experiences, they become secondary to that. That screen that reveals becomes so stronger. So rather, screen of awareness self, it will it attracts more attention than the pictures appearing on it. So you will be aware that the awareness self is the truth of all objects you experience, gross or subtle. So you will realize that, without awareness, no experience can be experienced. It is indivisible. It is present like a common element, or it is that same basis of all these objects that we see. So in regards to practicing, so that does not require a lot of effort to see the screen. Just like, if you go to watch a movie in physical sense, you go to a theater or you watch on your computer screen. If you just make a little bit of effort, you will be able to see the screen. Okay. Uh, you just need a bit of attention to become aware that there is a screen behind those pictures. Okay. So likewise, it just requires a bit of attention to realize that whatever we see, hear, taste, experience, that awareness, that is omnipresent in all. And it's due to the presence of that awareness, the body mind is conscious of all those objects that are appearing on the surface. All right. So attention to self means noticing the awareness self as the prime element. It is recognizing that the source, and once we recognize that, bring that to the front of our perception. It will come to the front of our perception. It is only a matter of paying attention to it. Like, how strongly we pay attention to it, how strongly we recognize it, how much we respect it, how much we want to affirm ourselves in it. So make that the focus of experience, and make the objects, for example, actors in the movie, for example, the sound in the music, for example, the motion of the bird. So make those objects of experience as secondary elements in the experience. This is the main practice if we want to come to the permanent happiness. Okay, so um, till now, the idea was that, how we distinguish between these two types of happiness, how we seek for permanent happiness, why we search for that, what is the practice to attain that. Now we can spend, just looking at time, 5 o'clock already. So now we can spend maybe couple of minutes on some very common questions that seekers may have. So I have put them on the slide. So let's say um, the first question could be probably, because we said that we experience temporary happiness and we are looking for permanent happiness in our quest for the pure self. But are these two mutually exclusive? Which means that when we get permanent happiness, then temporary happiness will not exist, question like that. So we look at it from practical perspective because we still have to live, till our lifetime is there. So uh, some people do get nervous about the sense that the personality will phase out. Then what will remain here? So because the topic today is happiness. So how we can explain this question is that um, the answer to this is yes. Okay, in simple words. So temporary and permanent happiness, they can coexist throughout life. So how they can coexist? Because the individual living as awareness also has a mind, because mind doesn't phase out, it becomes secondary. Of course, pure awareness comes to the front, personality goes to the goes behind or to the secondary place, but still they exist. Both those parts of us, they exist. Okay, so we have a mind. So because we have a mind, we will have emotions also, like every other individual has. But the difference will be there. So the individual in permanent happiness recognizes the temporary emotions, joy, sadness, excitement, etc., but they look at them as expressions of the reality. They look at them as the waves on the surface of that deeper underlying self, the pure awareness. So it is there. Their main attention is on their pure awareness, but they are not, the movements on the surface, these emotions and thoughts, and of course temporary happiness is like emotion, so they are not absent from their perception. Okay, so for them they coexist. But how they exist? So at the core of this individual who is living in self-abidance, so at their core, the bliss and the peace they feel, that is stable, that does not change, that remains unaffected by the ebb and flow of these temporary feelings. So, so success will come, enjoyment will come, even loss can be suffered. Okay, they will still be happening, but the person is rooted in unchanging happiness beneath it all. They remain unshaken by that. Okay, so so how is that experience of life? Then so this allows for, like a fluid experience, like a hybrid, because it's living in two worlds. So you engaging fully with the world, but without losing the inner peace. So that does not get lost. It is always present there. Rather, that is their primary state. So individual in self-abidance remains in pure awareness as their primary state. Okay, so they rather operate from that state because it is, like it is sitting there all the times, it is present there, because they will make all their decisions, and uh, it will be like a problem solver, you can say, because they will not be swayed by emotions and all. They will be looking all at all of it you can say, with more patience, because the guidance will come from that pure awareness self that they are at the primary level. So the picture represents that. The glowing core represents that permanent happiness, eternal self, and around it, the colorful waves present that temporary emotions felt by the mind. The core remains untouched, showing how the permanent happiness is unshaken by temporary emotional changes that keep happening. Okay. And another question, probably even more interesting than the previous one, is that, so would the individual in permanent happiness seek temporary happiness also? Or they just keep them shut from that? Okay, so what happens to them? Let's say, they have a family also, they have community also, they participate in all these uh, activities and all, they have to do all the work like living in this world. So what happens to their temporary happiness then? And if they feel temporary happiness, does that interfere with the permanent happiness? Does that diminish their permanent happiness? It disappears with the appearance of temporary happiness. Let's say if they smile, if they feel like an emotion of joy, you know. So let's look at it. So what happens is that an individual who has attained permanent happiness may still experience, or even they can seek temporary happiness as well. Okay. Um, but the motivation and perspective will be very different. Okay, because their core state is already one of unchanging bliss and peace seeking. So if they seek temporary happiness, is it will no longer be driven by the sense of lack. They will not have craving for it, like the person before attaining this state. They always keep searching for it, and for them, one thing ends, the another desire comes, and they start craving for that. So this thing is not there anymore, right? Instead, temporary happiness for them is seen like a natural, um, like an enjoyable expression of the life's experience, like the waves, they are arising on the surface of a calm ocean. So that's how they look at it. So such a person engages with all these you know gross and subtle objects, for example, career success, relationships, possessions, joyful activities. They will appreciate these moments fully without being dependent on them for that lasting fulfillment. That a person who has not attained this state, they will look at those possessions, those experiences as something, if I don't do, I will not get it, it will make me feel better, like it becomes that impulsive, compulsive for them. But with permanent state individual, it will not be the means to attain that, you can see at a lower level we call it happiness. But if someone is in the bliss, they will not crave for that temporary happiness that comes, because they know that it will only be short lived. So their permanent happiness provides them a stable, uh, like a inner, like a foundation. So temporary happiness will complement in their existence rather than distracting them or disturbing them from their true nature of bliss. So maybe we can wrap up this, that in a sense, the seeker in permanent happiness, they embrace temporary pleasures, but without attachment. Okay. So they know that temporary things come and go, and they keep resting continuously in their deep, unshakable state of joy, of that pure awareness, which they are in after attaining such a state. So I thank you everyone for their attention, patience, listening to the satsang, and I'll be happy to address any questions or queries you have. Thank you once again. Thank you everyone. I stop
Thank
sharing.
you. Yeah. Thank you, Neeruji. Uh, a very beautiful talk you've actually given. There's nothing really left,
Thank
to
you.
really add or subtract to that. Just Vijayji is not here today. He's overseas, so I'll summarize on his behalf. Look at one thing, that images are there, isn't it? We ourselves are an image actually. So that means that this self or pure consciousness, one it is that spaceless, timeless reality, right? Now, where there is no space and time, images cannot express themselves. So this pure awareness, or I call it this pure consciousness, is basically what we call as the state of permanent, unchanging happiness, right? These are actually only terms because it is never actually going to change. But look at it very carefully now, because a world of images, a world of space and time is inherent within that consciousness. So to express that, the only way it can express itself is by becoming a temporary image, isn't it? And when we say a temporary image, that naturally means temporary happiness. But do you actually realize that that same changeless reality disguises itself and becomes this world of images? And it itself actually has disguised itself what we call as temporary happiness, right? So this is a means of transition to really understand in truth what is actually going on. So what you're calling as temporary happiness is actually nothing. What you're calling as an image, which is actually temporary, is nothing but that consciousness only appearing as this world of space, time, and images to give expression to its own inherent nature of what we call as wondrous or Maya, right? Anyway, just a brief conclusion on the discussion. Beautiful talk. So we'll just throw open. Everyone, please come in with your views or discussions. So who would like to start putting their views first? Anyone from the audience?
Would like, if I can, please.
Yes. Yes, Sylvia ji.
First, thank you, Neeru. That was really beautiful and so explained in a very simple way for everyone to understand. I just want to say something here, and perhaps that is just my perception on things. But I found something that initially was very confusing for myself. And then I see the same thing being confusing for many, many, many people. That's why I want to address this. So it's actually the word that we use, the word happiness, right? When we speak about happiness in general, people understand something with a bit more, how to say, joy, something a bit more exciting, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So it gives you that, woo, there's certain energy attached to that, right? And that, of course, exists in duality, because if we've got happiness, we've got unhappiness, so we can understand them, right? When we use this word for the changeless reality, people feel that they should achieve this state of the happiness they understand in the changing reality, right? So they are seeking this kind of state. But in truth, that happiness we speak about in the changeless reality, it's actually peace.
Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, right? It's peace. We should be speaking about permanent peace and not permanent happiness. Okay, yes, if you are in peace, obviously that's great. You're kind of happy. But it's not that sense of happiness that you do get in the changing reality, or that what we associate with it, right? It's peace. And so people often get a glimpse of that. But I get this from many people, and I have felt this myself. That's why I'm speaking about it, right? So people get a glimpse of that peace, right? But they expect happiness, which to them, to their perception, is a different thing. Okay, because you can be at peace, but not necessarily means that you are all smiles, and like it's not that kind of happiness, right? It's peace.
Uh,
And I think once you understand this, you
and
know very clearly where you're aiming, right? And once
where
you have that peace, okay, things that happen, bad things, then do not disturb you, right? You keep that peace. Because people have this, it's a contradistinction in their mind. Okay, someone just passed away, and I'm not all happy and all smiles. I am not happy, you know, but you can be at complete peace, right?
So should I explain to you now?
Yes.
Okay. So see, we try to differentiate between these concepts. Happiness, of course, I think it's pretty clear that it's an emotion. It's that you know ex- that cheer, the excitement, hums that comes as a like a facial expression. You understand what I mean by temporary happiness. Um, so when we define peace in worldly terms, bliss is not equal to peace. Bliss, we call bliss, the permanent happiness, or you call it supreme bliss. That is not equivalent to the peace that a lot of people experience. Like, they remain unshakable, even if there is a negative experience, because they are at peace by nature, let's say. They don't get anxious, they don't get impatient. Uh, Maybe you can look at it, even a person who's living as pure awareness can also get impatient and anxious also. Okay, so this peace that we define in worldly terms is not that bliss. Okay, maybe we can explain it using some different words. See, what you call bliss is like stillness. It's very deep. It's not peace that you remain quiet, you have suffer a loss, there is something that a big tragedy happens and you remain at peace. It's not that. A person in self-abidance can be crying also. But this self-abidance, this is stillness. This is very innermost. They can be both, they can be crying also and they can be still as well. Because these things, they are distinct. And it's the coexistence of those two, because they will be still and they will be perceiving that crying of themselves as the expression of that stillness. So maybe we cannot explain this in words, what that stillness is like. But that's why a lot of people, they have misconceptions about self-abidance. So what they expect from a person in self-abidance is that they become aliens, perhaps. They have no rights to smile, even. They need to be really very, accepting everything, no reaction at all, always happy, pleasant, yeah, not being angry at all. This is totally false, right? A person in self-abidance has the right to have any emotions. But the only difference, the big difference, the real difference is that these emotions or whatever, they see that as the movements of that self, the same reality. So if they are capable of living as both of these, okay? Both of these at the same time, every moment, even if at the middle of the night you wake them up and they are still both of that, that is pure awareness. It does not go away once it is achieved. And those people who see, oh, that and that person, how can they be in such a high state? They have done this in their life, they have said these words to them, this is all just misconception. Because people who know this, they themselves don't know what that state is. People have written books and books and they have given lectures and lectures on it. But if you see the essence of it, it doesn't make sense what that state really is. It's very difficult to grasp, very difficult. Okay, and the moment you get it, it will be just so automatic. It's not explainable in any of these words. You call it, peace or happiness or whatever. It's not. Nobody is able to really 100% describe, what that is. But it's like, you are a human. You came to this life with a personality that cannot just disappear the day you are in self-abidance and say, oh no, my nature is just totally wiped from today, from this moment, because I am now self-awareness. It's not like this. It is the best thing is you remain natural. Sage has said the highest state is the natural state of self-abidance. So you interact with world with naturally, no change. People should not be able to judge from how you talk, how you interact with them. They shouldn't be able to judge what you are. So there is no reason to change your clothes or to change the way you talk or change the way you think. No, because that state is just so deep. It does not need any polishing at all. That's why it does not even need any evidence to validate. No need of external validation. That how you should be, looking in the world or talking in the world. No need. It's just so self-sufficient, that happiness. We do not depend on any such means.
Thank
Perhaps
you.
I am not capable of explaining all of it
Yes, yeah. I
because,
think that was a really good explanation, actually.
yeah,
So,
Really
maybe.
was
Sylvia, Ramana Maharishi had said that your nature is happiness. He didn't say that your nature is peace. And then this title is also given by the sage only, happiness temporary and permanent. So if I compare, say, happiness is like the sky, you follow? So the peace can be all the trees which are on earth together, but that is the contrast between, because these are words, certain words just explain a thing in its totality, and certain words are limited to where they are. You follow? So it's okay. We'll move on from there. Thank you, Neeruji. Very
Yeah.
beautiful. You are in the essence of being in avoidance when you were talking. It can't be explained. Okay. Anyone else uh, would like to please? You can just talk. You follow? There's nothing that you've got to express. You've got a query or anything. Just express your views. It's just an open forum. It's a discussion. We are all images. It's consciousness which is presenting itself as all these images, having a discussion. Right? Prashant ji, what about you?
Sure, with you.
Yes.
Uh, it was such a beautiful talk, Niruji. It did make me think deeper of my state, and I'm learning, I'm growing. So I will try and describe my experience rather than what I've read, if you see what I mean.
Mhm.
In my state of awareness, what I'm realizing is that there is nothing like happiness or unhappiness in that state, because like we say in Advait, it is a non-existence of the other. By that, the non-existence of the second. So it is like saying that it is the lack of sorrow is what I feel when I'm in pure awareness. It is not like I'm feeling happy, but there's a lack of sorrow. I am, and that is it. I am. There is nothing there, because for myself, for my true self, I'm beyond any feelings. I'm beyond any emotions. I am. And in that state, where is the question of happiness or sadness? Where is the question of joy or sorrow? Where is the question of all these limitations that are being felt by the body and the mind? I can see it. I can see it being felt for my body. For example, when I think of fear, I see courage as in action. I see bravery as in action. I see confidence as a state of my mind. There's a faith which comes in my belief. So these are all the opposites of fear, but they still are in the worlds of opposites, in the Dvait world, in the dual world. In my Advait world, I am. And that is what I feel. I'm open to listening to comments.
Yeah. Do you want to say something, Neeruji?
Yeah, that's what exactly we were talking about, that it's the coexistence. So at the dynamic level, there is these different concepts, these experiences, but at the same time, at our, the level of the true self, it is nothing. Nothing is there, basically. Empty. That's empty. Even I am is not there because there is no thought. So there is nothing. Just totally the absence of anything. So that's what we were, that they coexist. They
Yeah.
should be
Yeah.
happening at the same time. So
Okay.
that's
All
good.
right. Yeah. Hariomji, what you want to say something?
Guruji, just giving an example, very wonderfully, Neeruji has brought out everything. Like we watch a movie, we normally concentrate on the actors, but we do not think of the director. So here I feel that the director is our consciousness, and we are always busy with the images which are appearing in the movie, rather than thinking of the underlying reality, that is the pure consciousness.
Mm, mm. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, yes,
That is,
Suzanne. Just 1 minute before you speak. Hariomji, you have completed? Is that it?
yes, good. Yes, this is
Okay, good.
but very wonderfully, Niruji has brought out everything, and you had given a very good introduction. So concept has become very clear that the underlying reality behind we appearing as personality and the objects appearing in our view is pure consciousness.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
consciousness is the only reality, and the space and time, where there is no space, space and time are necessary for images to appear. And when there is no space and time, naturally there is permanent happiness. And why we are looking for permanent happiness? Because that is our essential nature. So what is
Correct.
our nature? We look for it.
Yeah.
But when we are unable to find it in the materialistic object, then with the search from outside turns inward, and
Yeah.
we start looking for the real happiness inside. And one says that bahar kuch nahi rakha hai, and you turn inward. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
So next time we look for the director when we go to see a movie, is it?
Right, sir.
Okay.
Screen.
Okay. Thank you very much. Very beautifully put. Yes, Susanna wants to say something, Neeruji. We'll let her.
I just
Yes,
wanted
Susanna.
to
Yeah.
Neeruji that, yeah, it was very easy to follow and beautifully done and makes sense. And she's talking about, when you're out and things are happening, you have that background. And sometimes actually you're not really probably focusing on the consciousness, but you're just, how can I say, you're just doing whatever you're doing. You're walking down the street, you're passing people, and then maybe something happens where you might be tired or you've lost your way or some different thing. And then suddenly, you might see the emotion coming, oh, I feel tired, or this is too much. And that's when you realize that you've been in that, I don't know what to say, that space, so it's in the background. And I like the way she said, you're still human, emotions come up. But when they do, it doesn't cling to you. That's the only way I can say it. It doesn't cling to you. It passes you.
Yeah.
Almost like a wave. It just goes and you come back to that.
Yeah.
So thank you
So
very
they,
much.
yeah, thank you. Yes, just to add to that, so they will not impact you. The impact will be lesser. For example, if you were not aware that we are basically pure awareness and we are untouched by all these, you are less impacted by them. But if we don't know this, then you know how they have a very serious impact on us emotionally. Also, we get down and things like so. So when we know this, see, even with intellectual level knowledge, also our capacity to withstand increases or impact lessons. But let's say experientially is also, if you come to live like that, then impact significantly it will be lesser. I mean, it's just we can understand this. So it's with constant practice. So the grounding happens, and then when we experientially also we remain in this state all the time, even though you can be sad. Let's say um, sometimes a storm, last night there was a big storm. Last night or the night before was big storm. I was awake, you know. So the fear can come, anxiety can, that's okay, but it's there is a very strong cushion underneath that. Yes, you are that. So you don't even need to think about it. That's what, not my point is that you think I am that. No, no, no. So instead of self-abidance, this thought also doesn't come. I am I am a pure self or pure awareness. There is no need for this thought also. Like, your name. For example, I don't need to remind myself, I am Neeru, I am Neeru, I don't need to, nobody needs to remind them what they are, who they are. Just like that. So when you come to that firm recognition that you are pure awareness, you don't have to remind all the time yourself, I am self, I am self, I am. It's only till the point that realization doesn't come, it's only till that point. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. What about you, Poonamji from Mumbai? Would you like to say something?
Namaste to everyone.
Yeah.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
Neeruji, you
Yes.
have beautiful presentation. Really amazing the way you made things so clear. I would like to share some of my experiences. And again, now I'm relating to my own journey in the present context. When I was a principal, as I think discussed many times, I had a very tough time in that college. Every day used to be a day, what kind of problems and complaints students, Ambedkar Association or some kind of other organizations will come and stand against me. Ki, why you have done this, why you have done that. So the day when I used to begin my day from home, I used to bow down to my Sadhguruji, and even I used to always feel, no, I am consciousness. So whatever happens, okay, let it be. That thought I had to bring it to my mind initially. And,
Yeah, yeah.
and when many times when the situations become very, very worsened state where I was not able to say anything to them because they were bombarding on me, I used to remain silent and calm the way you said. That calmness or being silence, being at peace, used to give the solution automatically. And many times I experienced that while going to my college, driver did not come, I used to drive. So while driving, it was a distance of almost an hour from my home to my college. I used to always sitting on the seat. I used to keep one satsang on the next seat on my this thing in my mobile, and used to say it's a consciousness driving the car. I'm not the Poonam. So it used to become so interesting how that 1 hour used to pass without any fear, without any kind of feeling in my mind, any negative feelings at all. It used to be rather pleasure driving for 1 hour in a very comfortable manner.
Yeah,
And that was an experience when the thought I had to keep on thinking I am consciousness, but not repeatedly. Once that the music is set, yes, you are consciousness, I am consciousness. So it used interesting experience. And what I'm experiencing nowadays, I've retired last year in August 2024, completion of my 65 years of my services, 65 years of my age and completion of 40 years of my services into teaching profession. Now I am experiencing that I am looking at everything just as a part of nature. Right now I'm sitting in my room, but looking at the trees and beautiful trees in front of me. I just enjoy the beautiful nature which is there in the form of plants, in the form of human beings, in the form of our domestic helpers who are coming to help us. And there's no difference between them and myself or my family members. I treat them just like my family members because we belong to one. And is giving me so much of happiness and peace of mind. And that duality is disappearing, rather, I should say. I'm not saying it is remains almost every time, but most of the time I feel myself very, very relaxed mode, and there's no comparisons or calculations going into my mind at all.
Mhm.
I'm feeling it's coming. I'm moving. Consciousness is making me move towards self-abidance. I'm on the way of towards that, not exactly attained. But secondly, I'm experiencing one more thing. People they say it's not. People they say ki Poonam, when you are there with us, no, we feel very nice. I don't know what is the feeling of that. I said, what am I? I'm just like you all. We all are one.
Mhm.
Incidents I would like to share with you, like giving me lots of peace of mind and happiness. But it
Yeah.
doesn't throughout. It doesn't remain. Sometimes I do. My tucker goes with my husband. Sometimes, no doubt.
Yeah.
Consciousness. Let him say it's consciousness. Then I leave it. It
Yeah.
doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt me or disturb me.
Mhm.
That.
Yeah. Yeah.
But thank you
That is
so much.
also an expression of consciousness. Our
Yes.
what happens with family joys or sadness or whatever, that is also an expression of consciousness.
Yes.
So if we look
Yes.
at it as expression of consciousness, then it lessens. It doesn't leave a like an impression. So you
Yes.
are free. You keep free. You light. You remain light.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Doesn't.
now yes, now that affection or the craze about the worldly affairs has declined to a great extent. That
Yeah,
thought
because it is actually grounding, na? Gradually, it is firming. So, because self is firming, self is empowering. You are empowering self inside you, the main element inside you. You are giving it power to grow, to and when it grows, then it comes to a point where it can actually be the primary one, and
yeah,
the individual self becomes the secondary. Yeah.
it's it's at the childhood stage, I think, right now. It has to grow, become young and youth, and then
Yeah, it's not like that. I mean, in the physical sense, but yes, because it is trapped.
yeah,
So it's only our attention can help it empowered, help it. Because when the good develops, when the good grows, only good can suppress the evil. Evil, like if we rely on mind, uh, in a lot of practices, we use mind as the tool. We train mind, like good quality, self-discipline, etc., which is very helpful. I understand, but I think if you want to make it intense, like there is bitter medicines, there is vaccines, but on the other hand, there can be very slow, small doses. So if you want to make it intense, then it is you think you pay attention to self, you think you are self. This is something like an intense treatment. But a lot of people are afraid of that. They will say, no, 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 I am that mind. I am that mind. I have to kill this. I have to do this. I have to do this. Yeah. So it's like I would say that is delaying the shining of the true self that is there inside you, waiting desperately to shine fully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Okay. Binaji, do you want to say something? Are you still there? Binaji, are you there? Okay, maybe she is not there. What about Vrindaji? Vrindaji, are you there? Can you hear me, Vrindaji? Yes, who's speaking? Yes, please speak up. Yeah. Can't hear anything. Vrindaji or Binaji, are you there? Okay. What about Rajeshji? Rajeshji, do you want to say something? So Rajeshji is not there as well. What about you, Kavitaji? Are you there?
Yes, Anilji,
No.
Pranam, I'm here. Yeah, just busy
Yeah,
with.
yeah. Put on your video, so we are recording.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Right. Yeah. What would you like to say?
Yeah, just one thing I want to share about this today's discussion. It was a beautiful discussion by Neeruji. She mentioned about that awareness about experience. So whatever the object is there, maybe any object or maybe image. So awareness plus object or awareness plus image is our experience. So it's a experience of what is going on in everyone's life is experience. So awareness is there plus
So he
object.
asked me if I want to say something, मैं उसको वो कर रही थी, पता नहीं कुछ हो गया तो वो आ नहीं रहा है, चलिए हो गया.
So it is,
We'll come back in a minute, Virindaji. Yes. Continue, Rajesh ji.
yeah. So it's all about experience in our life, that because of awareness and object or images we are dealing with. So that thing is explained by Neeruji. It's in a beautiful way with the example of I don't remember right now, but that time it was clicked into my mind that it's all about experience, what we are doing in day-to-day life.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. That is the basis. Yeah.
Yeah. So underlying thing is self, means awareness. Awareness is there, and with awareness and in the form of another awareness, means another consciousness, we are getting the experience.
Yeah. Okay. Beautifully said. Anything else?
No, Anilji. Yeah, that is it.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Vrindaji, now are you able to talk?
Yes, something I pressed something wrong.
Okay.
That's why.
Yeah. Please continue. Yeah.
Actually, firstly, I want to thank Neeruji, and it was really very beautiful. And I'm sharing my experience with whatever I've gone through with this understanding till for some time now. That a major change that I feel that happens is that earlier you have memories when you're caught in your the ego game. You have memories and you go through all the various emotions affecting you, whether it is sadness, happiness, or confusions, or whatever. But with this awareness growing, the memories don't finish, but the nature changes. You just remember, but there is no emotional game that comes with it. And your understanding gets better. So the emotional play stops happening on you. And also the expectations that you start having in general, they change because you just learn to enjoy what is coming or to understand it and move on. You don't get stuck in some frame of any particular emotion or particular desire or particular expression. It almost feels like we're on a journey where we are just, seeing things, going through emotions, going through things, understanding, and the space that you start feeling in your own life and the space you start giving to people around you becomes so much more easy and beautiful that it's the whole environment changes. The environment changes inside, the environment changes externally, so you enjoy things in a very, you almost feel you're having a new life. So that is something which I mean, I'm just talking on my own experience. And yeah, in fact, I felt, it's almost like stages one goes through. Initially, you just live like your whole experience with the body and the body responding. Then that environment changes. You go through the experience of your emotional game, that changes. Then your mind game starts, and that also changes. then you start feeling okay, you are this energy, and the energy is almost like in a certain space. So it's a beautiful experience of kind of a rebirth we keep having in this life. It's really something, and one can just thank the eternal for it.
Yeah,
I just wanted to share this experience.
it's all
Is
because the eternal is growing in you. So as eternal grows, this peace comes, bliss comes, and mind thins. That's what we were talking a moment ago. So when pure awareness it grows, then the mind thins. So because all this calculation, what the trap of thoughts and everything, that's because the mind is powerful. But when mind becomes less powerful and self becomes more powerful, then peace comes, bliss comes. So that's what you are experiencing, all these changes happening, making you more peaceful, and also bringing that, gradually bringing bliss also in greater and greater, you could say, degrees. So yeah, that's all because self is growing and mind is thin. So it's good, enjoyable experience because stages come.
Yeah. Okay. Is Neha
Thank
ji
you so
there?
much.
Neha ji is there or not?
Neha listened, but she had to go somewhere, so she's
Okay.
just left.
So she has left here. Okay. Mamta ji, do you want to say anything? Mamta ji or Angie ji?
Yes, Anilji.
Angie? Okay, yeah, there you are. Okay. What do you want to say?
Thank you, Neeruji,
Yeah.
for the presentation. I had one query.
Yeah.
In response to the Sylvia ji, you said that uh, you compared the peace and happiness. So you said that happiness, the permanent happiness, is remaining in the natural state. So you must be crying, reacting to the situation. You have fear, anxiety, but the peace, the back of that peace remains. But for the for the one who is at the starting stage, is it necessary that uh, you don't require to react, you just don't require to respond to anything, just witness whatever is happening, even though your natural state says you that speak it out, or maybe cry it out, or maybe reacting to the situation, but for the time being you prefer to be at peace, and you prefer to not to react, not to respond, nothing, just witness.
Yeah.
Is it necessary to be at the starting states? Then
Right. Yeah.
automatically that bliss comes
Yeah.
into your life.
Yeah. So actually, so when the practice is still happening, it's like people who have high blood pressure. The body has a tendency to get high blood pressure, so
Yeah.
they need to be in a discipline, eating wise, so less salt. Any other disease also, they will have to keep and check on some particular foods or whatever. But let's say they come to a stage where the self-discipline is not even any effective, so they are recommended a medicine. So then you do whatever, no problem. You can be eating salty foods or you can be eating fatty food, but when the medicine is going there, then it is like you can say, it protects from any negative impacts of those foods. So it's just like that. Yes, there is practice, and you need to be in self-discipline, and always trying to come back to that position of the self-awareness which is inside you. So that is the way you thin the mind. So not uh, giving attention to mind, and also to trying to shrink it. For example, let's say there was a moment and you're feeling like being reactive to that, and then you remind yourself, no, 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 I am pure awareness, I should not be doing
True.
this. Okay,
True.
it's like you taking a medicine, right? Yeah, but
Yeah.
you are taking some food in a disciplined way, that you don't overeat or you don't do this, because basically that's what you need to do. So just like that, so during the practice, during the quest, it is important to not pay attention to mind, to lessen the mind, so that you give the opportunity to self to empower. um, But when self is in full bloom, then there is no worry. You can be living naturally because you have attained that, then all these is just the expressions. They are not
Yes.
hurdles, because whatever is, that is already achieved. But I'm not saying that you get a license that you can do anything. Actually, you will not feel like doing that. You will not
Yes.
feel like reacting. But it's not, in the first scenario, we are looking at it controlling ourselves so that we stop the reaction, because we are basically consciousness. Okay. But in the second scenario, it's
Yeah.
not controlling, but it itself, it will not be there. They will start disappearing, diminishing. The negative
Yeah.
trait will start disappearing on its own, because the peace is so shining. It's there so much that it will absorb that reaction. It will not let it grow, not outburst.
Yeah.
So that's why, we need to be really very cautious when we think about, what it implies. How do I apply this? It's not very simple. It's very complex. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, but I mean, to make it as easy as possible, but we can try our best to explain. So, I mean, it itself will not come. You will not feel angry. You will not have conflicts, because the inner is so strong. It it will
Okay.
not let the negative things come, basically. But if they come, then people should not be judging. Oh, why such and such person? They said this. How can they think like this? How can they do? I mean, they do not understand the state that we
Okay.
have. They do not understand. So it's what somebody else's state is. It's not 100% truth. It cannot be perceived like that or understood like that. What somebody else is experiencing. So it's a very complicated, not a very easy subject, not a very simple topic to talk about. But I mean, the best we can do is try to understand as much as we can. So, yeah, during the practice, it is very important that you keep reminding yourself that, yes, this is how I improve myself. This is how I pay more attention to the self that is inside, and not paying attention to the mind games, like, all these emotions and things, and not sticking to them, um, and try to forget, or try to, that's how we make our pure self more powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as you think more, gradually your grounding will increase, and then the stage will come when these things automatically will finish, because the peace is so much. Automatically you will not worry, you will not. Yeah, it's like this.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you,
Okay.
Neeru. Thank you,
Okay.
Anil.
NGG, do you want to say anything, or is there anyone else who want to say anything?
Namaste,
Yeah.
Anilji.
Namaste. Yes. How are you, Anupji?
Yeah, I am very good.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Thank you, Neeruji, for the wonderful talk, for reminding us to be in the self. So, what I experienced while practicing the sadhana is that the mind always want different. Are you able to hear,
Yes,
Anilji?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Very
can.
clearly.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The
Yeah.
mind always want different foods to sustain itself. So it want different images, different thoughts. But when we try to be in the self, it doesn't need anything, any addition. So I think as the scriptures says that the nature, they mention the self as Sat Chit Ananda. That means the Atma or the self. Sat means the existence, and Chit means the existence know itself. So the result coming is, I think there is a peace or happiness. The result is coming. So the self doesn't need any addition. That's what when I practice the sadhanas, I understand like that.
Yeah. So Satchitanand means existence. So it's the existence means indivisible existence. So
Mean
self-awareness is universal.
it's a permanent existence. That means
Yeah, I mean, so it does not end. Like it doesn't have a term, so it is timeless. And Awareness is it's chit sat chit anand. Yeah. So chit means it is awareness itself, right? It is that awareness which makes us conscious of everything. So it is timeless and it is awareness, and the nature of this, that is anand, means bliss. So basically these are the, you can say, the concept or the qualities
Yes.
qualities of that pure self.
Because when I practice in meditation to sit in the self,
Hmm.
so in that state, we didn't need any other things. We doesn't need any thoughts or images or anything. In that state, we are we are in a good state. We don't need any additions. But when the
Because there is stillness, yeah.
when the mind comes to act, the mind need everything. So
Yeah,
that's what I experience while doing the sadhanas.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Thanks.
Because mind always needs some movement. What's coming, but so, okay, next thing, this is gone, next.
Yes.
You know, how people watch news, okay, changing channels,
Yeah.
yeah.
So sometimes when
People
I
getting
get the
information.
glimpse of this self, so at that time I feel I am I am full by myself. But after sometimes the mind will act and I will forget about this experience and the mind will start to play by itself.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's right. But
Yeah.
at that time you need to remind. So it's like as frequently you remind yourself that you are pure awareness. You are not this mind.
Yes.
Well, that will shrink the power to the mind. It's like, so you lessen the food for the mind.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
when the mind, so when mind doesn't get the food that it wants, so
Yes.
then mind cries.
Yes. Yes.
Or
My
sleeps.
mind feels
Or
boring.
cries or
Yes.
sleeps. That's
Yes.
why you feel sleepy.
Yes.
So, like, sometimes in
Because
meditation people feel sleepy. Sometimes it's just like, they don't like the topic. So just like that mind doesn't like this topic.
yeah, the mind will tell us that you have to do something or you will get
Yeah.
bored. So that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
the nature of mind.
That's right. Because
Trying
it's
to
always
play a game.
that
Yes. Yes.
movement happening, something
Yes.
or else should happen. And it doesn't need rest, doesn't want us to rest.
Yes.
But on the other hand, being in stillness does not mean rest.
Yes.
That does not mean physical rest. It's not that, right? Yeah. You can be, loaded with work, but still in stillness. Because physical work has nothing to do with it. It's only
Correct.
mental, like with mental, all those, this thought, that disturbance, that is not there. So
Yes.
it is only there as much as you need. If you need to work, you need to think, you need to, of course, those will be needed and it will be there. So mind becomes the servant. If you need the mind, take the work. Do not need the mind, let it rest. So if you get that control on the mind, that means abidance is there.
Yes.
Otherwise, it
I
will be difficult. Normally, it's very difficult to control the mind.
Yeah, I am trying to get
It
some control
controls
of the
us.
mind.
Yeah, so it controls us. But when you gain that power that you can control the mind, that is the state of abidance is coming now.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right. So NGG or anyone else wants to say anything before we close?
Yeah, I think I can only say thank you to Goji and Nilanji. I think such a beautiful talk, and just the experience you're having, it's very beautiful to listen and encouraging. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, the simplicity of expression is the experience itself, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, Neeruji, do you want to say something before we close?
I think we had a discussion already, so it was beautiful to participate in this and to also talk to a lot of devotees in today's meeting. So it's good because we are now going to maybe not having satsangs maybe for a few months now. So yeah, it's always a good experience, of course, experience. So as long as we are in this physical world, or maybe even astral world, there is experiences. I mean, they are not going to leave us. It's only us, we can leave them. So yeah, so it was good. Thank you so much for your patience, for your thank you for your talks, for your points, for sharing experiences. Really beautiful, everything. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Neeruji. And thank you, everyone, for attending the session. We'll catch up again in February.